Coming up on Chapman News, ceasefire in Syria, but will it last? Planning for the big one, California launches a new app to prepare for earthquakes. And the first all-women crew makes history walking in space. All that and more on this edition of Chapman News.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Good afternoon, I'm Jules Rector. And I'm Carissa Davis. We begin today with breaking news, a ceasefire in Syria. The president is fighting a war on two fronts in Syria. He hopes a ceasefire holds after an emergency trip to Turkey by the vice president and secretary of state. And in Washington, as the impeachment inquiry continues, dramatic testimonies on Capitol Hill. We're joined by our political producer, Grace Papish.
Thanks, Carissa. That's right, the U.S. found itself in the middle of two different wars this week, the war in Syria and the war on impeachment. Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo were in Turkey this week, where they negotiated a ceasefire between the Turkish military and the U.S.-backed Syrian forces. Turkish Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu was quoted saying, "This is not a ceasefire," and that forces will only pause the operation for 120 hours.
That today the United States and Turkey have agreed to a ceasefire in Syria.
The fighting in northeastern Syria began earlier this month when President Trump abruptly pulled U.S. troops out of the region. Many say this left the Syrian Democratic Forces and the Kurds, an ethnic minority, vulnerable to violent Turkish operations and re-emerging ISIS forces. And that's just what happened. As of today, an estimated 200,000 people have been displaced. The president attempted damage control when he sent a letter to Turkish President Erdogan, writing, "Don't be a tough guy, don't be a fool." But despite his attempts, 129 Republicans joined House Democrats to formally condemn the president in a bipartisan resolution. This was followed by a contentious meeting in the Oval Office, in which leading Democrats stormed out after a nasty back and forth between Trump and Pelosi.
He was insulting, particularly to the speaker. She kept her cool completely. But he called her a third-rate politician. He said that there are communists involved and you guys might like that. I mean, this was not a dialogue. It was sort of a diatribe, a nasty diatribe, not focused on the facts.
So Grace, with all this happening in Syria, has the impeachment inquiry been overshadowed?
Definitely not. The impeachment inquiry is moving forward at full speed. In an attempt to defend President Trump's involvement with Ukraine, in which he tried to barter military aid for information on his opponent Joe Biden, acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney admitted to reporters that there was an exchange of favors between the two countries.
Did he also mention to me in the past the corruption related to the DNC server? Absolutely, no question about that. But that's it, and that's why we held up the money. And I have news for everybody. Get over it. There's going to be political influence in foreign policy.
And dramatic testimony from the Capitol. Former Ambassador Fiona Hill and Ambassador Gordon Sondland are among those who testified this week. Hill, the president's former advisor to Russia, is on the record saying that John Bolton, at the time National Security Advisor, asked her to tip off White House lawyers days before Trump's July call with Ukraine. And United States Ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland, who was blocked from testifying last week by the State Department, finally had his day on the Hill. Both testimonies mention the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. Hill claimed that John Bolton called Giuliani a hand grenade, and Sondland testified he was directed by the president to work with Giuliani on building an alliance with Ukraine. The president's lawyer may not be able to avoid his hearing much longer. The FBI arrested a fourth man involved in the Ukrainian scheme to funnel foreign money into U.S. elections. Giuliani had business ties to all four men.
Rudy Giuliani has clearly been a leading force for the administration in defining a shadow foreign policy in Ukraine.
Now, taking a look at current polls, 52% of Americans believe Trump should be impeached and removed from office. This is a slim majority of Americans, but it is up nearly 10 points from 3 weeks ago. I'm Grace Papish. Stay informed and stay curious.
With Warren under attack, Bernie back in the fray and Biden apparently losing ground, this Tuesday's Democratic debate was full of notable moments. Michael Karabit has the highlights and more.
This Tuesday, Chapman students gathered in Argyros Forum to join viewers across the country watching the fourth Democratic debate. With 12 candidates, this was the largest debate stage ever, with some of the sharpest moments, like Mayor Pete Buttigieg criticizing Senator Elizabeth Warren for being unclear about her health care plan.
No plan has been laid out to explain how a multi-trillion-dollar hole in this Medicare for All plan that Senator Warren is putting forward is supposed to get filled in.
But Senator Bernie Sanders defended Warren.
The overwhelming majority of people will save money on their health care bills.
Former Vice President Joe Biden talked about his son's business in Ukraine, but avoided a tough answer involving himself.
My son made a judgment. I'm proud of the judgment he made. I'm proud of what he had to say, and let's focus on this. The fact of the matter is that this is about Trump's corruption. That's what we should be focusing on.
We asked members of the Chapman community what the most important issue to them was, and the majority of them said climate change. But moderators from CNN and the New York Times did not ask a single question about it.
For some reason, there's still debate in this country of whether climate change is even as threatening as the world has kind of accepted it to be.
Some candidates argued back and forth, like Mayor Pete and Beto O'Rourke on gun control, and Kamala Harris demanding Warren join in her fight for Twitter to remove President Trump's account. All three frontrunners were asked about their health and age, a concern shared by some Chapman students.
Sanders does look like he's dying. I don't have full confidence to say that I think he would make it through a full term of presidency.
And while the majority of students we surveyed prefer Warren, they still see the target on her back.
I'm leaning towards Warren right now. I like everything that she's been saying.
It's usually been Warren up to now, but she's kind of getting poked at in this debate, which I think is important.
Although students prefer different candidates, everyone we talked to had one thing they all wanted to say.
Everybody go vote. Please vote.
Make sure to vote.
Vote. If you want something to change, just vote.
For Chapman News, I'm Michael Karabit.
With only 8.3 million live viewers, Tuesday's debate was the least viewed of the year. The next Democratic debate will be hosted by MSNBC and The Washington Post on November 20th. The 2020 G7 Summit will be held at Trump National Floral Golf Resort in Florida. According to Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, the decision was met with criticisms as to whether President Trump will profit financially from the summit. Mulvaney responded saying Trump will not profit in any way, shape, or form. The House of Representatives has lost a powerful voice. Longtime Baltimore Congressman Elijah Cummings died early yesterday at the age of 68. Though the reason for his death is unclear, Cummings had not returned to work after a medical procedure in September. As the House Oversight and Reform Committee chairman, Cummings was a key figure in the impeachment inquiry into President Trump. Both Trump and former President Obama took to Twitter to express their condolences for the 23-year House veteran. A sharecropper's son, Cummings fought his way through the ranks to advocate for the poor in his black majority district. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi addressed his death on Capitol Hill.
God bless you, darling Elijah. We all love you. We miss you, but we'll never forget you, and your legacy will live in the Congress of the United States, in this House of Representatives.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has reached a Brexit deal with his European counterparts. This means that Britain could finally be out of the European Union by the end of the month. The next step for Johnson is to get his draft deal approved within the British Parliament, beginning with a rare sitting of the House of Commons tomorrow. UK law requires Johnson to seek an extension for votes if a deal is not approved by Saturday. The Fort Worth police officer responsible for killing 28-year-old African-American woman was arrested and charged with murder this week. Body camera footage released by the Fort Worth Police Department shows Officer Dean walking around the outside of the house, pointing his flashlight at the window and fatally shooting a Tatiana Jefferson without any warning. He resigned hours before the police chief had planned to fire him. This Wednesday, outraged faith and community leaders gathered in a city council meeting to demand change. Jefferson's killing is the sixth death caused by Fort Worth police officers since June.
It's time for somebody else to take control of putting in the right mechanisms to hold the city of Fort Worth and our Fort Worth Police Department accountable when they break local, state, and federal law.
Pastor
Actress Felicity Huffman is serving time in federal prison in Northern California as of Tuesday and will be staying there for 14 days. The Desperate Housewives star was sentenced last month after she admitted to paying $15,000 to increase her daughter's SAT score. In addition to her time in federal prison, Huffman will pay a $30,000 fine and complete 250 hours of community service. Huffman is the first of many to begin serving time in the admissions scandal. This morning, NASA is making history with an all-female spacewalk outside the International Space Station. This is the first in 61 years of operation. The walk will last for 5 hours. Astronauts Christina Cook and Jessica Meir are replacing a faulty power regulator that failed to activate after a spacewalk last Friday. In an interview last month, the women were asked how they felt being part of the first female spacewalk.
That is something I've done a lot of thinking and reflecting on, and in the end I do think it's important, and I think it's important because of the historical nature of what we're doing, and that in the past women haven't always been at the table, and it's wonderful to be contributing to the human spaceflight program at a time when all contributions are being accepted, when everyone has a role, and that can lead in turn to an increased chance for success.
Coming up, the Great Shakeout. California prepares for the big one.
More power outages, the latest on the bomb cyclone sweeping through the Northeast, after the break.
Dora knows the best place to explore is the forest.
She knows this monkey? Of course, she knows this monkey.
Experience nature, connect with family,
You guys.
and find your own adventure. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest or park near you.
Earthquakes are rolling across California, and just yesterday we had our annual shakedown drill. With such a long history of devastating earthquakes, how is California preparing for the big one? Fiona Platt has more.
The Great Shakeout is an annual drill meant to prepare people for a major earthquake. Lucy Jones, a geophysicist, started these drills in 2008. Her research shows it's especially important for Southern Californians to be ready because the San Andreas Fault is overdue for a big earthquake by 150 years.
It's going to be 3 minutes of shaking during the event. It was 7 seconds in Northridge, for people who remember that. And afterwards, we'll have lost all of the aqueducts coming into Southern California. We'll have broken enough pipes in the ground. It's going to take 6 months to get water back into all our houses. We'll lose electricity.
The Northridge earthquake in 1994 was the last SoCal shake at a magnitude of 6.7. Jones predicts the big one will have a magnitude of 7.8. Most states participate in the Great Shakeout, and yesterday, California did theirs. I went to the Starbucks on campus to see how many people would participate. The answer? No one.
I was in class, and I got the text message in class, and my professor didn't stop the class to do it, so I decided not to participate.
I did not participate in the California Shakeout because I was in a midterm, and our teacher required us to turn our phones off for the midterm.
In addition to participating in drills, Chapman University has taken other precautions.
We have a water filtration trailer, so we can filter water from any of our pools, any of our connections, and it's instantaneous. So we can bring that on campus or anywhere where we need it.
We do have individuals that are trained. Our public safety department is trained in first aid CPR, so they can help respond and help clear buildings if needed.
USGS says that during an earthquake, you should stay inside until the shaking stops, stay away from furniture that can fall on you, and stay away from windows and light fixtures. While earthquakes remain unpredictable, advancements in science and technology are helping people better prepare for them. For Chapman News, I'm Fiona Platt.
To help Californians prepare, Governor Newsom announced the release of the My Shake app yesterday. The app will provide early earthquake warnings and is available for iPhone and Android users. The fires may be contained, but Southern California Edison is taking no chances. The utility issued an alert to more than 33,000 customers that power may be shut off as a precaution against fires. Among the areas that may be affected for this weekend, Los Angeles, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Santa Barbara counties. This comes a week after the largest planned power outage in California's history. The Saddle Ridge fire has finally been contained after burning more than 8,000 acres in 4 days. The fire caused 2 deaths, destroyed 17 homes, and damaged 58 buildings. It began near the base of a California Edison transmission tower. PG&E is facing criticism after over 1 million people in Northern California were without power last week, becoming the largest planned power outage in the state's history. LA Times columnist Steve Lopez blamed PG&E for being part of the wildfire problem for decades and asks the question, can California survive the twin threats of climate change and further utility company mismanagement? However, PG&E claims the planned power outages have prevented wildfires in many counties. Steve Lopez is not the only one upset with how the fires have been handled. Governor Gavin Newsom is also unsatisfied with how PG&E has handled the situation.
As it relates to compensating people that have been impacted, I believe they should be compensated, and we will pursue that.
Investigators are still trying to determine the cause of the fire. Apparently, power outages are occurring all across the country this week. We have Tiffany Yang in the Weather Center with the latest. Tiffany?
Thanks, Carissa. California is not the only state experiencing power outages this weekend. In the northeastern part of the country, almost 55 million people from New York to Maine are on wind advisory, and more than 500,000 are without power because of a record-breaking bomb cyclone. Mount Washington in New Hampshire could experience wind gusts of almost 130 miles per hour, which is similar to wind gusts of a Category 3 hurricane. The cyclone is expected to slow down later tonight, and the northeastern states can expect a cold front within the next few days. Now, thankfully, here in Orange, we're not expecting weather quite so extreme. So today, it's right now currently 72 degrees and sunny. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely going to capitalize on the last few days of October as November is swiftly approaching and nights will be a lot colder. Let's take a look at the 5-day forecast. So in Westminster, we're seeing 77 degrees. As we go a little more inland, we're going to see Orange with a high of 79 degrees. As we go down to the coast, we're going to see Newport, Laguna, and San Clemente with 73 degrees, with Irvine and Mission Viejo tying at 78 degrees. Now for the rest of Southern California. So in Santa Barbara, we're seeing 76 degrees. I know those of you in Isla Vista will love to go on the beach and do your little runs. In Los Angeles, we're looking at 79 degrees, Anaheim 80, Oceanside 73 degrees, and San Diego with a low 70 degrees. But as we go more inland, we're going to see Palm Springs hit a high of 90 degrees. Now let's take a look at your 5-day forecast. So on Friday, today, we're seeing 79 degrees as a high, and it's sunny, so it'd be a great day to kind of take a walk your dog. On Saturday, we're going to stay steady at 79 with a low of 56. On Sunday, the winds are going to start to pick up with a high of 88. On Monday, 91, and we're only getting higher as on Tuesday, it will be 95 degrees. So I don't know about you guys, but we should definitely capitalize and get in our last few days of sun. I'm Tiffany Yang. Have a wonderful weekend. Back to you guys at the desk.
The Argyros School of Business is feeling a bit richer today. That's because the appearance of former President George Bush at the anniversary celebration netted a total of $15 million. $10 million of that came from a generous surprise donation by the Argyros family. Chapman President Strupa says, quote, "I don't know how to express the gratitude." Vaping company Juul has announced 9 new regulations around the marketing and promotion for their products. The new regulations emerged after a settlement between the company and the Center for Environmental Health. Now Juul cannot advertise within 1,000 feet of schools or playgrounds and cannot show young people in its advertisements. The CEH will likely sue if Juul violates these agreements. A $50 billion settlement in the opioid crisis, with the 3 largest drug distributors in the country settling thousands of lawsuits. All parties are under pressure to reach an agreement by Monday, when the first federal trial will begin in Cleveland. The proposed settlement would release the drug giants from thousands of cases with state and local governments in exchange for providing a $50 billion in cash and for addiction treatments.
Coming up after the break, The Hunger Games takes on a whole new meaning after seeing this actress's wedding menu.
Chapman's football team is getting national recognition. Find out why after the break.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Hello everyone, I'm Chloe DeVries and welcome to the Best Campus Sports Show. Chapman's football team is now ranked after taking down 2 top 25 opponents in their first 4 games. They are ranked number 19 according to D3Football.com and number 24 according to the coaches poll. And the team feels like they are getting the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, I'm super psyched that we're able to finally break that top 25. Finally getting that recognition and respect we, deserve for beating Whitworth and Redlands. It's not as high as I wanted it to be, but it's gonna give us that momentum and that drive to get better and constantly win.
And those wins will come a little easier, as Chapman only has 1 game left this season against a team currently above 500. For updates on the team, you can follow their Instagram at Chapman_F.B. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the game that got Chapman ranked, starting with this OBJ-type catch from Nick Ragas. Then, in the second quarter, Marcos Reyes scores on a 12-yard rush. He has 6 touchdowns in 4 games. Chapman's defense has been playing lights out and has forced many turnovers, including this pick by Sal Ochoa III. Then, Spencer Corona gets his first touchdown of the season on this 20-yard strike from Reed Vettel. He somehow got 1 foot down. Special teams was even special on Saturday as Chapman runs a fake punt with the freshman Owen Tapia. Huge rushing gain for the punter. Redlands even tried to get tricky on a punt, but the pass would be intercepted by Chapman's return man, and they got the win 21-18.
It seems like absolutely no one has been able to tackle Marcos Reyes. I'm not even going to try, but what I am going to try to do is rip off his flags. We're going flag football. If you had to give yourself a Madden rating, what would it be?
I'd give myself an 85 overall. Pretty balanced, not really excelling at like speed, power. Just overall balance, compact back. That's what I'd give myself.
So the 1-2 punch with you and Isaiah Woods, what challenges does that present for a defense?
It's hard to plan against it because I feel like me, Woods, and even Tanner, we all bring something special to the table. Woods is like one of the fastest guys on the field. He can shift anybody. Tanner's really just powerful. He definitely gets you 3-4 yards of carry. And then me, I can catch the ball. I can run too. I can outrun some guys. So I think it's just we're all special in our own ways, and it's hard to defend against that because you can't really prepare for just one type of back. We have it all.
Got him. Predictions for the rest of the season?
Kayak Championship.
Well, Well, the athletes are undefeated. Chapman Football is undefeated. For Brad Benson and Marcos Reyes, this has been another edition of Athlete of the Week.
Kat Helgeson has been named SCIAC Specialist of the Week for her career-best 32 digs against Whittier. The freshman libero is a big part of the team's recent success, which is something she was not expecting coming to Chapman.
It's crazy because I came here and I didn't think that I would be starting libero, because I was told that there were a bunch of upperclassmen and it would be really hard to get the spot. So I'm just pretty lucky that Mary gave me the chance, and it's really great because the team is great and we just have such a good connection with each other, and yeah, it's working out pretty well.
It's definitely working out pretty well. The team is currently on a 13-match winning streak and is undefeated in SCIAC play. They will be back on the court tonight at 7 p.m. at the Hutton Sports Center. On to some national headlines, starting with an update on Tyler Skaggs' death. It was announced this week that the Halos pitcher who died of a drug overdose over the summer was given the drugs by an Angels PR employee before the team flew to Texas. He is currently cooperating with the DEA on the investigation for this case. More news from the Angels this week as the club announced the hiring of Joe Madden as their new manager. Madden is returning to the Angels after spending the first 31 years of his professional baseball career with the Halos as a player, coach, and interim manager. He has spent the last 5 seasons as a manager of the Cubs, including the 2016 World Series winning team. This season's World Series is going to have a new team as the Washington Nationals have advanced to the first Fall Classic in the franchise's 50-year history. This comes after they swept the Cardinals in the NLCS, and they will face the winner of the American League Series between the Astros and Yankees. That's all from me, but I hear there's a famous athlete coming to campus. Carissa?
That's right, Chloe. If you're interested in the Olympics, politics, and open discussion, then you may have heard of Dr. John Carlos, who will be the face of an honors program event tonight on campus. During the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, Carlos accepted a bronze medal for the 200-meter race, wearing black socks and no shoes to honor the impoverished people. At the medal ceremony, he made a statement that echoed around the world. The symbolic fist he raised wearing a black glove showed his protest against racial and economic injustice. Fellow Olympians of that year supported Carlos, and Chapman's event will focus on doing what's right. Tickets for the general public range from $5 to $10, and the event starts at 7 and ends at 9 p.m.
Coming up on entertainment, this is not a Big Little Lie. We have a new Catwoman for the upcoming Batman movie. Stay tuned.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Hey guys, it's Gianna and welcome back to the reality of entertainment. There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne, and it's Zoe Kravitz. The Big Little Lies actress will star as Catwoman alongside Robert Pattinson as the Dark Knight in the latest Batman reboot, The Batman. Former Catwoman Anne Hathaway congratulated Kravitz in an Instagram post on landing, quote, the role of a lifetime. And fellow feline Michelle Pfeiffer had some advice as well.
Make sure, whilst designing the costume, they consider how you're going to go to the bathroom.
Okay. This is a huge deal for our girl Zoe, because back in 2015, she revealed in an interview with Nylon magazine that she wasn't allowed to even audition for The Dark Knight Rises after being told that she was too urban. But look at her now. The Batman is set to hit theaters June 25th, 2021. While I wait for that to come out, I'll probably be streaming some Disney Plus content in the meantime. Recently named most powerful man in Hollywood and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Bob Iger says that the streaming service is locked and loaded. Iger has invested billions into switching the Walt Disney Company's approach to the streaming world, with new technology, switches in executive positions, and ending their deal with Netflix. Disney also dropped a 3-hour-long trailer titled Basically Everything Coming to Disney Plus, and will be launching on November 12th. Although Disney Plus isn't even out yet, Netflix has already taken a beating, missing its subscriber goal by over 2 million in their second quarterly report. But in the most recent quarter, the platform was up around 10% and now has a total of 158 million subscribers. And that's because of Stranger Things.
Mental.
The series' most recent season was viewed by over 64 million people within the first month that it premiered, and over a third of those people, including myself, completed the entire season within the first few days. The show is now Netflix's most watched original series, and if you didn't know by now, it was created by Chapman alum. Just saying. I could watch that show over and over, but I won't be able to watch Jennifer Lawrence get married this weekend in Rhode Island because my invitation was apparently lost in the mail. And no, it's not for a Hunger Games political stunt.
Really? A wedding dress?
The actress's soon-to-be husband, Cook Maroney, is a high-end art gallerist, and their wedding menu seems to be an art piece of itself, including 5-year-aged leg of beef with forager sauce, wood-roasted fish with herbs, lemon-infused butter, fire-baked sourdough bread, pudding, and s'mores. Maybe Kylie Jenner will be in attendance to perform her new song for the happy couple.
Rise and shine.
The Wake Up song featured in Jenner's video tour of her cosmetic office quickly went viral and is making for some hilarious memes.
Rise and shine.
And now she's putting the meme to use by selling sweatshirts for $65. I think I'd rather spend $65 on my Disney Plus subscription or something. Thank you for catching up with the reality of entertainment. Back to you guys at the desk.
Another local chef became culinary royalty this week after winning an episode of the Food Network's Chopped. Rachel Klemek, owner of the Black Market Bakeries in Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, and San Diego, won a cake showdown this Tuesday. We sent our reporter Taylor Eckerline to the Black Market Bakery in Santa Ana to check it out. Taylor?
Thanks, Carissa. I was actually just inside the bakery, and it's so cute in there. It's all decorated for fall, and it's getting me excited for our Halloween show next week. And don't even get me started on how cute and amazing the pastries look. I cannot wait to try one. And you know, Klemek will actually be on the final show that airs October 29th for the chance to win $50,000. She's following in the footsteps of another local, Sachi Mera, who actually won Chopped just last month. Okay, now that I'm thinking about the pastries, I have to go get in line to buy one. So while I go do that, we'll go back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Taylor. I love Chopped. Definitely one of my favorite Food Network shows. Really? I've never seen it. I'm more of like a Master Chef, Hell's Kitchen kind of girl. Really? You're definitely going to have to catch up. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And make sure that you guys don't miss an episode of Chapman News. Check out our YouTube channel at chapmannews.tv and follow our social media accounts at Chapman News for weekly updates. I'm Carissa Davis. And I'm Jules Rector. Have a great weekend.